I wasn't planning to write any of this. Not after the 5 p.m. deadline passed in silence. Not with search teams still combing through the Catalina foothills for the ninth straight day. Not with investigators reviewing ransom messages and trying to separate noise from something meaningful. And certainly not with Savannah Guthrie's steady voice from that second video still echoing in my mind, calm, measured, unwavering. But then the phone rang at 11:32 a.m. Eastern on Monday, February 10th, 2026. The voice on the other end belonged to someone I've trusted since my earliest days covering network news. Someone who has stood shoulder to shoulder with Lester Holt for more than 20 years. "Lester spoke this morning," the source said quietly. "Privately. About Savannah. You need to hear this." I closed my laptop, grabbed a notebook, and listened. A private conversation at 30 Rock. This wasn't a press briefing or a carefully constructed statement. It was something smaller and far more human. In a quiet conference room at 30 Rock in New York City, Holt gathered with 5 people he trusts, longtime colleagues and close friends from his early Chicago days. No publicists, no cameras, no official notes, just conversation. At 66, Holt has spent decades anchoring NBC nightly news, guiding viewers through pandemics, elections, wars, and national heartbreaks with a voice that rarely wavers. But this morning, those present said he looked tired in a way they hadn't seen before. Not weak, just carrying something heavy. And when he finally spoke about Savannah Guthrie and her missing mother, Nancy Guthrie, it wasn't analysis. It was personal. Strength as a family language, Holt didn't begin with the disappearance. He began with history. Savannah didn't just inherit drive from Nancy, he reportedly said. She inherited a blueprint. After Nancy lost her husband young, she raised her children with fierce independence and discipline. According to Holt, strength wasn't just encouraged in that household, it was expected. Emotion was something you handled privately. Control was survival. Savannah, as the oldest, absorbed that lesson most deeply. Over the years, Holt noticed it in subtle ways. The way she prepared relentlessly, how she never appeared rattled on air, how she moved through personal storms with professional composure. "That's not performance," he said. "That's training." In moments like this, when fear could overwhelm anyone, that lifelong training becomes instinct. And instinct is exactly what viewers are witnessing now. Composure under pressure. Holt shared a story from years ago during an intense election night broadcast. Savannah, still rising within NBC at the time, received a troubling call about her mother's health. She stepped out briefly, returned within minutes, and resumed preparations. When Holt asked if she was all right, she smiled and said, "Mom would tell me to focus on the job." No elaboration, no visible unraveling, just forward motion. That wasn't coldness, Holt explained. It was reflex. Nancy had taught her children not to react impulsively, but to respond thoughtfully. So when the first days of this crisis unfolded, the empty house, the investigation beginning, the flood of media attention, Savannah remained silent. Some saw it as strategic. Holt saw it as something deeper, a daughter honoring the rules she was raised with. Gather facts, stay steady, speak only when ready. The structure of a plea. By the time Savannah released her first video statement, observers noted its composure. She thanked supporters first. She described her mother with warmth and clarity. She acknowledged reports calmly before asking for proof that Nancy was alive. To many, it felt almost like a carefully written news segment. Holt didn't criticize that structure. He understood it. "She organizes chaos," he said. "That's how she survives it." When the second video came days later, including the now widely discussed "we will pay" statement, the tone remained controlled. No visible panic, no emotional collapse. For Holt, that composure wasn't denial. It was devotion. It was Savannah demonstrating the strength she believes her mother values most. A daughter trying, even now, to make her parent proud under impossible circumstances. The weight of expectations. Holt reflected on a quieter moment from years past when Savannah navigated a deeply personal transition. Even then, her focus remained on moving forward. She believes progress equals strength, he said. That belief, he explained, can be empowering, but also exhausting. The public often praises composure as resilience. What they don't see is the cost of always holding it together. Holt's concern wasn't that Savannah would fall apart publicly. It was that she wouldn't allow herself to fall apart privately either. When you're raised to believe that love is tied to capability, every crisis becomes a test. And right now, she may feel as though she's being tested in the most painful way possible, not just as a public figure, but as a daughter. A different kind of motherhood. Interestingly, Holt pointed out that Savannah parents differently. He has watched her with her own children, warm, patient, affectionate. She allows room for tears and imperfection. She gives them what she didn't always give herself, he said gently. In that sense, her approach feels like growth rather than rebellion. It's evolution. Yet in the midst of this crisis, old patterns resurface. When fear strikes, we return to the earliest lessons we learned about survival. For Savannah, those lessons emphasize control and steadiness. That doesn't mean she isn't grieving. It means she is grieving in the only way she knows how, quietly, deliberately, with structure. And sometimes, the strongest faces hide the deepest storms. The silence after the deadline. When the announced deadline passed without resolution, the public reaction was immediate: anxiety, speculation, frustration. Yet Savannah did not rush to issue a new statement. Holt suggested that silence, too, follows her internal code. Wait, confirm, respond with intention. For viewers desperate for updates, the quiet feels unbearable. But to someone raised to believe that measured responses protect everyone involved, restraint can feel like responsibility. Holt reportedly emphasized that Savannah's steadiness should not be mistaken for lack of emotion. Strength doesn't mean absence of fear, he said. It means carrying fear without letting it carry you. And carrying fear for 9 days straight requires more energy than most of us can imagine. The hope for release. Before the meeting ended, Holt shared one final thought, not about strategy or perception, but about healing. When Nancy comes home, and he spoke with hope, the reunion will be only the beginning. There may need to be conversations long postponed, reassurances never spoken aloud, a reminder that love does not require proof. I hope, he said softly, that she hears she was enough all along. It was a simple sentence, yet it lingered in the room. Because beyond headlines and search grids, this story is about something universal. A child wanting to know she is loved without conditions, holding space for humanity. Tonight, the search continues. Investigators follow leads, supporters send prayers, and somewhere in the middle of it all stands a daughter balancing public composure with private hope. Watching Savannah's videos now, it's possible to see more than steadiness. It's possible to see devotion, training, exhaustion, and love layered together. Whatever unfolds in the coming days, one truth remains clear. Resilience has many forms. Sometimes it looks like tears. Sometimes it looks like a steady voice saying, "We will pay." And sometimes it looks like silence while gathering strength for the next step. If Nancy walks through that door, may the reunion bring more than relief. May it bring rest. And may a daughter finally hear the words every child deserves. You were always enough.